Welcome to Chapter 3. And today I'm exploring with you lessons from literature and really how we find our voices when we're showing up online. I've designed these chapters to be a quieter and reflective space, a space where literature, legacy, and self-awareness meet the professional choices you make online. Now, I know that feels big, and that's why we're here to really explore how we want to show up in a way that feels meaningful. So today I want to invite you to think about your voice, not the way you write, not the stylistic choices you make, not even the words you carefully select for your LinkedIn headline or about section. Yes, they're important, but today I'm talking about your voice as something much deeper, the reflection of who you are, what you carry, and what you stand for. So this idea of voice is that it runs deeper than the words we speak aloud, which are often shaped by others' expectations or opinions, the shoulds. True voices live in the words we speak to ourselves, the inner voices, hopefully full of encouragement and kindness, although for me, not always. I have a doer voice who's very sort of pushy and opinionated, and I also have a shadow voice who is far from encouraging. For the purpose of this exercise in Chapter 3, we want to be listening to those voices within us that are encouraging and kind, the ones that offer strength, fortitude, and the quiet courage to take the next step. And when all my voices come together, I like to think it's my inner family, and they, in a chorus, will say, "Come on, Karen, we've got this." So when I'm talking about this kinder voice within you, it's that same voice guiding you to be genuine, to make an impact, and shine a light on what truly matters in the work you do and the presence that you create online. And when I worked full-time for a global organization, I found that this voice would be with me at the end of a weekend well spent with loved ones, people who lifted me up, and time in nature. That voice became very clear to me by Sunday afternoon. So let's talk about literature and how this has influenced today's chapter. So I recently read Heather Rose's A Great Act of Love, and it struck me how much literature teaches us about our inheritance, not just the way we look at the traditions we've chosen to uphold, but the will, the character, the convictions that move quietly through our family lines. Stories remind us that the choices we make today are shaped by what has come before, and that the way we show up, online or in person, can honor, resist, or even reinvent those inherited threads. So here's a question for you as you listen. What ancestral patterns does your professional self unconsciously repeat? That's going to be a tricky one to answer, but let's just put that out there. Let's tease that out a bit. What traits, skills, or narratives have traveled down your family line? Not necessarily as burdens, but as inheritance, as tools, as catalysts for action. For many of us, those patterns are not obvious. I know that's the case for me. Some might manifest as an unshakable work ethic, an instinct for leadership, a love of problem solving, or even the quiet courage to take risks in spaces where others hesitate. Some are less visible. The resilience that has carried your family through upheaval, or the generosity of mind and spirit, passed down quietly. I like to think of that as a signature you only discover in moments of reflection. And the more you go inward and the more you spend time allowing yourself to think about things, the stronger that voice becomes. And here's the beauty of all of this and why I wanted to explore it for chapter 3. Your LinkedIn profile is a modern literary canvas. Every section, every word is an opportunity to reflect the convictions that define you. And so the discover stage in the elevate map really helps you identify the values that guide your work, the experiences that shape your decisions, the patterns you choose to continue, and those you choose to rewrite. This is not an exercise in self-promotion. What a relief. It's an exercise in self-awareness. And so by anchoring your professional presence in truth, you create the kind of authenticity, there's that word, but it's really meaningful in the context of what I'm sharing with you here. You create the kind of authenticity that draws the right people towards you. Collaborators, mentors, clients, and future opportunities. That's big, I know. So how do we translate these reflections into action? How do we take the legacy we carry, the inherited skills, convictions, and courage, and allow it to guide how we show up online? So I have balanced today's chapter with some practical steps laid out with journal prompts and a bit of a guide on, well, what do I do with this, Karen? So you'll see that, read that in the detail of today's offering. So here's what I'd like you to consider. This is this question I'd like you to reflect on. What piece of writing has shaped your voice, and how might it guide the way you show up online? Now, that might be something you've read recently. It might be something you read earlier in your life, or perhaps it might be something that was read to you. Answer that question, and you will have taken the first step in revealing your professional voice, a voice that is uniquely yours, rooted in self-awareness, heritage, and intention. Voice is not something you create. It's something you discover. And once you do, the way you show up on LinkedIn, in meetings, in presentations, and in collaborations, even in an interview, if that's where you're at in your journey, it becomes a living testament to the threads you've chosen to carry forward.